Over 2 years now, the Central African Republic has made global headlines. The cause, the crisis in the country, which has displaced over 1.5 million people internally and externally. Across the world, communities have come to the assistance of the Central African Republic, one of the most important countries in the Central African sub-region when it comes to the natural ecosystem and the forest resources. How is life today in the Central African Republic, and how is the peace process going on? Exclusively on Globe Watch today, my guest is the country's Minister for Foreign Affairs. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Central African Republic, Toussaint Kongo, Doudou. Welcome to Globe Watch.
Okay, thank you.
Briefly, Mr. Minister, just define to me your country today.
This, security is better, improving, and life is becoming normal. And globally, in Bangui, the situation is just like we are here in Yaoundé. People doing business, people going to work, kids are going to school. And inside the country, a large part of the country is being freed now, but we have some difficulties in some part, for some other part of the country in the CAR. But globally, from what we knew a year ago, the situation is much better.
You just said that there are some difficulties, there are some punches of insecurity. We just had a minister of sports who was kidnapped and later released. That should be still worrisome to the authorities of Bangui.
But you know, kidnapping is not a new phenomenon in the world. In the Central African Republic, we have about 2 or 3 cases. I may say about 2 or 3 cases in our history. I lived in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. There have been about 10 kidnappings per day. When you go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, about 50 a day. So you have to look at, you have to take it into the global world framework. Kidnapping is not really a key phenomenon or a new phenomenon. So it's not really what should characterize the country. The situation, what happened is completely, we regret what happened, but fortunately, all the people being taken hostage has been freed.
And if people are being taken hostage, if people are being kidnapped, people die in the Central African Republic, it's because people have armaments to destroy the country. There is one British non-governmental organization which has concluded that in the Central African Republic today, a grenade is cheaper than a bottle of Coca-Cola. What is the country doing to disarm?
But I will tell you, I just want to give you and give to the people watching to us a message of hope. The situation used to be worse when the new government of Captain Samba Panza took over the country. The people were being killed when we came into power. People were killed every day. And there were massive violations of human rights, people being raped, women and young kids being raped. All the reports are there. But when we look at the situation today, due to the efficiency of people of the country that came to help us at the outset, part of the MISCA, which is the African force, and I would say, and thanks to Cameroon, the chief commander of the force was a Cameroonian. We had a lot of...
General Martin Toussaint.
General Martin Toussaint, who joined the UN as a force commander again, the United Nations mission there, who has been a very excellent work. We praise his work, and his work and his achievements has been highly commendable, and we hope that he continue as a head of the force, because he has made a key and strong contribution, along with all others, with UFOR and the Sangaris. But I should underscore what Mr. General Toussaint has done that has helped us to overcome the situation that we knew before.
Let's talk a key element which probably runs in the minds of nearly all the people of the Central African Republic today, the peace process. Where are we with it, and what are the elements which constitute that box?
A few months ago, we went to Brazzaville, and there was a process that was laid down in Brazzaville. There were 3 priorities that are to be pursued and identified after Brazzaville. One was a ceasefire between all the armed groups. The 2 was the disarmament, and 3 was the political dialogue in order to find long-lasting solution to our crisis. So we signed the ceasefire agreement. All the party, myself, I signed on behalf of the government. So we were so happy that what happened in Brazzaville. When we came back, there were some disagreement among the armed group. People were detaining weapons and so on. And they started a spree or spread of violence all over the country, in some part of the country. So these were the difficulties we had. But all of these difficulties are being overcome, and part of the country is being liberated and freed, including Bangui, which is the head of the country. It's not easy to go into peace. And I say it takes 5 minutes to go into war. It takes a generation to build peace. Absolutely. And we're on that path right now.
Okay. You just mentioned one of the salient points of the Brazzaville agreement was a political dialogue. At what level are you in integrating all the political forces involved here in the reconciliation process, in the dialogue process? Are people like Michel Djotodia, Martin Zegele, are people like Francois Bozize going to be part of this entire process? Because it seems to me that if these people are not part of that process, then we'll be going back to square one.
I should tell you, and just want to confirm to people listening to us, watching us, that the path, our efforts, our commitment for political reconciliation and national reconciliation is non-negotiable. So we cannot go back. We can't turn our head back. We have to go ahead. So we laid down a framework for a national dialogue, starting with discussion at the grassroots. We've sent ministers, member of the Conseil National de Transition, which is the transitional parliament.
Sure.
They went to all the countries, visited all the countries. We went to the grassroots, discussing with women, young children, schools, leaders, opinion leaders, and so on, all over the country, discussing to find out, to assess their needs, what they need for our country, what should we do for our country. So they came, they went, and they collected all of this information that they're bringing them back to Bangui, and that will all of this be summarized, and they will be part of the global agenda of the forum that will be held in Bangui for national reconciliation. Concerning the participation into the process, all people from Central African Republic, with the support of our key or the stakeholders from the international community, will help us to support that dialogue between people of Central African Republics.
Okay.
You mentioned names. So the problem is not names. It concerns all people from Central African Republic, provided they don't have bloods in their hand. People, provided they are not prosecuted by the international court, by various human rights bodies, provided they don't fall under sanction from the United Nations. If they are clean, we don't see why they should not. But the people that are not clean and they are prosecuted by court And there's on the sanction, I hope, I mean, you agree with me, they must not be there.
Justice should go to
they should go to the Hague.
Justice should be done.
Justice must be done. They should not be there. They should go to the Hague. You know what I mean about it?
And absolutely, and I understand that my audience will probably understand. Maybe some of them will be going to the International Criminal Court. Some of them will be going to other tribunals that the world knows so well. I hope it will not be another case of when Europe judges Africa, because that is how some people describe the International Criminal Court. Why is it that the people in the Central African Republic cannot behave like Nelson Mandela to say, okay, Michel Djotodia, you are forgiven of what you did. Francois Bozize, you are be forgiven of what you did. Martin Zegele, all of you, you are be forgiven. Please come back. Why is it so difficult? All of us sing Mandela so well. Why is it so difficult for us to live like him?
Can I ask you a question?
I believe that on this set, I'm the only person authorized to ask questions.
But I will say, I mean, this is a question. Let's take asking a question to maybe some of the people watching at us now.
And I believe that my audience will not be ready to take questions from you. They will be ready to receive answers from you.
But so just let's take it as an assumption. Imagine that your dad has been killed in front of you. Your mom has been killed. Your young sister is being killed. Your elder sister is being killed. And some have been raped and violently dismantled and killed in front of you. As a citizen, what do you expect? In a state of law, you need justice. They are the victims.
Mr. Minister, you are very much aware, more than me, with your huge experiences with the United Nations system, with the international system, you are very much aware with me that at times to have peace, the courtroom does not always solve a problem.
It doesn't solve the problems. I mean, should you look at the victims? It solved the problem of the victims.
Why can't we behave like what happened in Kenya to just close the case? Let's move to another area.
No, I'm not saying not to close the case, but I'm saying the commitment, the priority,
sure,
our fight against impunity,
sure,
and the promotion of human rights
absolutely
in this government is non-negotiable. I would say it's completely non-negotiable.
Let's move to another key.
But before,
absolutely,
let me just add.
Go on, Mr. Minister, go on.
Before saying that you're going to into amnesty, justice must come first. I think this is right for the victims, for all of us. Because it's impunity that led us into that situation we know today.
Let's take another area of concern, the electoral process. Are we going to have elections this year?
We're fighting hard to have election this year. The mediator, President Denis Sassou Nguesso, with the power given to him, has signed a document, government action for the next 6 months, up until August. Hopefully the election will be held by July. Our national, which is institution, independent institution in charge of organizing election, has laid down, set up an agenda that election must be held by the month of July.
Okay.
Provided that adequate resources are been given.
How much do you need in terms of finances, in terms of human resource mobilization to organize the elections, Mr. Minister?
Right now we are $44 million short. We need support, help. That's why I'm just coming from Addis Ababa. There was a special summit on the Central African Republic, and the summit objective was to promote the idea to support the Central African Republic in mobilizing, advocating for funds for the election.
Okay.
And soon another meeting will be held in Brazzaville for the GIC, the International Contact Group, in order to continue the advocacy to advocate for mobilizing funds for the election.
Okay. You just said that hopefully elections will be held by June, July. You are very much aware that Nigerians have postponed elections because of insecurity in the country. We are talking of Africa's first economic giant year because of the Boko Haram equation. Over 1.5 million of your citizens are displaced. Are you going to hold elections where a majority of your population is defranchised? Your population is about 5.5 million people if my UN statistics are not on the wrong track.
I just want to tell you, I don't see an election that is organized with 100% success. I don't see in any part of the world. Even in the United States,
we are not talking of rigging here, Mr. Minister. We are talking of qualified, eligible voters who may not have the chance of voting. We are not talking of rigging. I'm not even going to talk about rigging.
What I have to tell you is that the majority of people from Central African Republic will cast their ballots.
Okay.
But concerning refugees, most of them are going back home. So there's a movement going back. But they'll be taken into account during the electoral process, particularly the ones that are located in the neighboring country, in Cameroon, in Chad, in DRC, and in the Republic of Congo. They'll be taken into account during the electoral process.
Are they going to vote out of the Central African Republic? Because when you say that most of them are returning back to the Central African Republic, most diplomatic missions and individuals, people who are in places like Garoua Bulai, people who are in places like Gari Gumbo in the east region of Cameroon will say that, you see, the minister is not telling the truth because every day there is an influx of refugees from the Central African Republic.
I will tell you, not every day. As soon as this situation, the security situation is improving, as long as it's improved, people are going back.
Okay.
However, people are still, one of the vast majority is still remaining in refugees camp into the neighboring country. And our ambassador of here in Cameroon, the Central African Republic ambassador, along with some of the ministers back home, are going into visiting the camps.
Absolutely.
Visiting the camps in order to contact them, to enlist them, for them to be part of not only the electoral process, but the political dialogue that is taking current here. They are being consulted.
Okay.
So I will tell you, they'll be taken into account. But when the organization, we set up the date of July, we have a few months ahead to go, and we hope we'll have the critical mass that will help us organize that election, because it's our commitment to organize elections so that the country can be back on his head, on his leg again in terms of democracy and respect for human rights.
You just said that you hope that by July there will be elections so that the country can come back on its legs, because probably it's on its knees now. And if the Central African Republic is where it is today, it may be probably because there is some causes. There are some causes of the situation where we are found today. Why is it that, Mr. Minister, you are the Foreign Affairs Minister of the Central African Republic today? Tell me and my global audience, why is it that since independence, the best word to describe your country is chronic instability?
I will tell you, greed, in few words. Greed, bad governance.
By who, from who?
By ourselves, the people of Central African Republic. We don't have to blame foreigners, or we should not look for scapegoats. We are responsible for it. That's why we're making all efforts. It's a work that is completely, extremely difficult to do. And this is, in my career, this is the most difficult job that I've ever had, to be a foreign minister in a transitional government. Because we have a series of many years of bad governments, impunity, human rights violation. And there's a hope of people hope that us, in 1 year, we should solve them.
Okay.
We're trying our best. You're trying
your best, Mr. Minister. Why is it that in your country, since independence, leaders in the Central African Republic are not chosen by people of the Central African Republic. There are always outside forces dictating who is to be president in the Central African Republic. This is not McCarthyism. I give you an example. 2 weeks before Catherine Samba-Panza was chosen as transitional president, somebody came on the air on the BBC Afrique, and said, the next president of the Central African Republic will be a woman, and it turned out to be so. Why is it that outside forces always decide who is going to be the next president of the Central African Republic, and that turns out to be chaotic?
I will tell you. Well, you're right when you mentioned that BBC report, but it was not her. She was not the one. She was not the one in terms of prediction. She was not the one.
No, they didn't call name. They just said the next president of the Central African Republic will be a woman, and it turned out to be a woman.
No, but because women had worked very hard, and women are very strong leaders in our society, and they have been the one that have been at the forefront of the
surprising that when you look at the 54 African countries, only 2 of them are managed by women. So it is quite surprising when you say that women are good leaders in Africa.
But in Central African Republic, I will tell you, I'm a man. The men mess up everything.
So the next president, can we predict on this program that the next president will be a lady, since the men have messed up in the Central African Republic?
I mean, for now, as far as I know, us men of Sierra, we mess up everything. And let the women work, and let the women fix it. That's why we trusted the women to be the head of our country. And even we went even beyond that. Our defense minister, the defense state minister, is a woman. So women are getting more responsibility. In our government, there are about 8 women in the cabinet. So these are the support. Because you cannot promote governance. You cannot promote development or welfare of your population without involving women.
Okay. What message do you tell the young people of the Central African Republic today? When I go to the internet, YouTube, when I go to Google News, when I go to Yahoo News, when I watch television, when I go to Facebook, when I go to other social media sites, the images you watch from the Central African Republic, this channel has taken a decision not to show them because they don't respond to the African criteria of burying somebody. You see people slaughtering each other. What do you tell the young people of the Central African Republic? What do you tell them? That violence is not good.
We're telling them every day. And there are a lot of young people that are getting involved into the peace process. Young people now know what are their priorities. We, the state, we have to defend their right for education. They must be educated. They have to go to have jobs, and we are fighting for that in that transitional government. So the future is in the hand of youth. They are our future, and these are what we have to fight for. And we'll be happy as adults when our young kids will have enough scholarship to go to school, will learn job, will get job, will grow up and raise their family and contribute to in the process of nation building. So this is the message that we have to give them, and we are making all efforts to enlist them into that process.
Probably the last question, Mr. Foreign Affairs Minister of the Central African Republic. What message do you have to your global partners, to your global audience? Are you telling them that what you saw in the Central African Republic in the 1970s, in 1998, in 2000, in 2010, in 2013, in 2014, are you telling them that bye-bye to instability, bye-bye to violence, and that we are going to behave like Sierra Leone today? Are you telling them that these episodes will never repeat themselves, and that you have taken a full commitment to be a respected nation permanently in the concert of nations?
We tell them we've been going through a nightmare. But the nightmare has a beginning and has an end.
So this is the end of the story?
We're fighting for it. That will be the end, we hope. Because we should leave a legacy to our people. Legacy of freedom, justice, promotion of human rights, of good governance, and we are to fight against poverty. And so that the people, the future of people must be brilliant. So that's why this is our commitment. That's why we are there. We're in the transition. That's why myself personally, I joined the transitional government to fight toward that purpose.
The Foreign Affairs Minister of the Central African Republic, Toussaint Kongo Doudou, thanks very much for accepting our invitation as guest on Globe Watch.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Minister.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.